Hi, it's me, Lil. Today we have another artist in the limelight. It's Kristina Wong, who's an accomplished comedian, performer, writer, whose solo performance shows have been making us think harder and laugh louder than anything we might have seen. Her 2021 play, Kristina Wong Sweatshop Overload, centered around her experience organizing volunteers to sew masks during the pandemic. Not only did it win the Lucille Lortel Award, the Drama Desk Award, and the Outer Critics Circle Award, it was also a finalist for the 2022 Pulitzer Prize for Drama. Today, Kristina is here to talk to us about her career, the experiences that led her to Sweatshop Overlord, and the new book she's co-written, Auntie Kristina's Guide to Asian American Activism. Kristina, how are you?
I'm great, Lillian. Good to hear from you and see you.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Now, the last time I saw you, you were sprinting like a gazelle down Lafayette Avenue as you were attempting to get to the finish line of the New York City Marathon. Now,
Yes,
what possessed
like a
you?
Timu gazelle, like a Timu or Alibaba gazelle. Yes,
You
in
looked
my
like,
9-hour quest to finish the New York Marathon. Yes.
look, guess what? You did it. That's more than a lot of people can say. Now, what exactly possessed you to do it?
Oh, I was not possessed. I was signed up against my will
Mm,
by my best friend, the performance artist Brian Feldman, who's based out of Washington D.C. This is the third time I've been signed up against my will, I guess. Like I'll express a passing curiosity about it, and then I'll get an email in my inbox saying you're now registered for
wow.
Honolulu Marathon. I'm like, what? And so yeah, so no training. The third time, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me three times, and I will murder you, Brian Feldman. But yeah, so I think I had sent a text. I know I had sent a text right after Trump was reelected, and I was like, fuck it. Let's just do the marathon. Nothing matters anymore. I just need some sort of living embodiment of of endurance. And I started getting emails from a group called Shoe for Africa, and I was like, why am I getting these emails? And I guess the only way you can do the New York Marathon if you don't make the highly competitive lottery or get in with past running times. And
Yeah.
my times in Hawaii was about 11 hours. That's not good if people don't understand marathons. 11 hours to do a marathon is not good. The first time was LA. That was 8 hours, 35 minutes. So yeah, so it's to sign up to fundraise for a group. So I ended up having to fundraise for both of us for all
Wow.
sorts of dumb reasons. Yeah, and anyway, never again, never again. My parents were pissed at him
Oh, really? Are you
about it.
sure?
I was pissed,
Some people
but we
say
did it.
that, and then next year they're like back in it.
No, I don't know. I think my knees are permanently like I'm like people say they have bad knees. I didn't have bad knees till before these experiences. So but anyway, yeah, I did it, and you were there, and I think somewhere in
Yes.
Brooklyn,
Yeah,
cheering me
cheering you
on.
on. Yeah, right on Lafayette Avenue in Clinton Hill. It was so exciting to see you. I'm glad I got to see you at all because sometimes you miss your friends who are running, but
Yes.
we were able to connect.
What an experience, though. I won't say I'm glad. I won't give Brian the satisfaction of saying I'm glad I did it, but it is something everyone should experience. Just all these New Yorkers in the street screaming at you, and these welcomes to every neighborhood are so special, and the signs are hilarious.
Yeah, I love the
And
signs.
like people give out. I had baklava. I had
Oh,
salmon and lox. Like people were
okay.
actually serving this to people running.
Protein, that's good.
And yeah, I got yeah, it took 8 hours, I think 37 minutes. So my best time was 8:35 in LA, but we could not
Oh,
manage
so
to
close, so
beat.
close. Get there. You'll get there, I'm sure. I wanted to chat a little bit about your work, which is highly humorous, but at the same time, it brings in an element of community activism to it.
Mm.
Do you think that comedy is an effective tool for social change? And like, where do you think it succeeds, and where does it sometimes fall off?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if I sort of never when I had this dumb idea in college that I'd be a performance artist when I grew up, I thought that I'd be like a really serious performance artist,
Mm.
like in a gallery, maybe cover myself in paint, and it would be about colonialism, right? Like, and I don't know. I found myself using more and more humor because it hurt too much to
Mm.
send my body through that journey
Yeah.
without some sense of like relief. And especially once I started making shows that I had to replicate in order to, make my living,
Hmm.
it was like, especially Wong Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was about depression and suicide. That one premiered, thanks to the Creative Capital Award in 2006. It
Hmm.
wasn't funny when I premiered it. It was really I remember just spontaneously just, like, crying to 20 minutes into the show going, "Oh my god, how do I get to the end of this?" So, throughout the process of getting more opportunities to work on that show, I found more places for humor. Yeah, but that's yeah, so much yeah, the humor is necessary because I think, it's harder and harder to figure out where satire lives now, because we
Reality sometimes
we're
feels like this.
that Kristi Noem headline about her husband in drag, and I was like, "This is Onion," right? Like, it's like Onion or real life is like is the game of every day,
It really
and
is.
yeah, so it has been such an art to figure out how to, how to find, patterns, which is how I locate where to find the humor and what is that thing that I'm actually making fun of,
Hmm.
and and critiquing, and that can get really sticky with a lot of the subjects that I work on. And people who don't know me will be like, "Oh, you're a comedian and you have a show about depression. Why would you make fun of people who are depressed?" And like, or why would you make fun of people who've killed themselves? And I'm like, I don't. I don't know where you're
Hmm.
getting this from, but it's like sort of the hot take of from people who don't take time to experience the work. That's the assumption. So yeah, so that's a lot of where
I
my
hear
thinking
you.
around humor is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like nowadays it's either laugh or cry. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about just the emotional labor of everything we have to do as people of color just to make it through. So I hear you on that.
Yes. Yeah, so
It's
much of what I describe it as is like you cannot let the man get you twice because it's like
mm,
I would I went to college in the 90s and spoken word was huge and I'd watch people like you have these artists, they would have the stage, but they'd work themselves into like this frenzy and 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 I feel like I think you took home more anger than you released, and you were
yeah,
complaining about the man who wasn't in the room right now. And how can we do this in such a way that we don't let the man get you twice? You know.
yeah, I love that. That's a
So
really good way of thinking about it. But like, how do you balance the art making with your responsibility to the communities that you want to help and affect change on?
balance. Yeah, I don't know about that word. That's that's the word balance. I'm like, I don't know. If I don't have children, I have a stepson, but like if I actually raise a kid, I feel like that kid would be all dried up. And I'd be like, "Oh shit, I have a child. Oh no." Like so I don't know. Balance is a tricky thing, but I think a lot of what I think I had a lot of misunderstandings about what this kind of work would be like. I very naively thought going into it in college, I was like, oh, instead of seeing a therapist, I'll just make people pay me to hear me talk about my problems, and and then and they'll be academics will write about it and students will study it. Like I didn't understand you needed to actually work on your problems outside of uh, the public. And
Mhm.
social media was, deeper into my into my 20s when that sort of existed, but in college it was like the beginning of the internet and blogs. And uh and I would sometimes like really get real personal on my blog, and I would get criticized for like, can't you
Mm,
believe she puts it all out there? And I'm like, look at the world now. My God, people are it's
yeah,
terrifying, like, I'm like, "Wow." It's like everyone's doing a one-person show, except there's no show. They're just doing the research and development, like, or the the inciting moment that will trigger making the show over and over again in public. Yeah, so those are sort of things like, I think it's important to have a private life
hmm,
and to separate, like, okay, what's the persona that the world is gonna read and that you're okay with them misreading, and who are you really, and what are the relationships that you care about and want to protect, and how much of that will be put out there in the world. And but yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff I've had to kind of figure out as it happens. But yeah, there's definitely a character of Kristina Wong, and then
Mhm.
there's somewhere in there's a real me.
Yeah, I feel like I think we
I
do
don't
get to
know.
see a lot of the real you on
Yeah.
Instagram. You do share a fair amount of that, and
Yeah.
that's just as lovely to see as your stage work too. I don't feel
Yeah.
like there's so much to different people, you know?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is it was really hard with Wong Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I toured on and off for 8 years, and that
Yeah.
just tour, like, it was so freeing to finally sort of name what depression and mental health and all this kind of stuff that I felt like the world of therapy could never help me move through. That
Mm.
show helped me move through so much, and
Well,
then I had to keep touring it to make an income, and that's when I began to lose my mind more, like, in a different way, right? Like, I began to
mhm,
name things and feel like, okay, I've created a way to control or, name these dynamics in my life and family in a way that is really pretty and on stage. And now I'm worried I can't move past this topic because I'm trying to make new shows, but something about that depression show, it will tour to a college, but other shows,
well,
tricky,
that's
right?
it's 'cause that
So
speaks to so many people, How
yeah,
many times we see the, Prozac commercials or whatever, the antidepressants, like, it's every other commercial nowadays because pretty much the majority of us are dealing with that nowadays.
yeah. And like how to move. I think this is a thing in the artist way or something, but like Julia Cameron's artist way, it's like how do you move beyond that thing that once you kind of make it and have that thing that you do so much, how do you move on to that next thing?
Yeah.
And that was really hard. And the lesson I learned, and I could go in, it was I want to take on shows now that aren't about my past and maybe a little, but not
Mhm.
like that. Like so they will always involve me trying to learn about something I don't know about. So with this last show, I took on food insecurity. Christina Wong Sweatshop Overlord is a recounting of the pandemic and how I ran the Auntie Sewing Squad.
That's
I
your Pulitzer Prize
tried.
nominated play I have to throw in there.
Yes, thank you. It's weird that I didn't even lead with that. But yeah, that show, I when I was running this mask sewing group, March 2020, people were like, "Is this your next show?" And I'm like, "Who wants to relive this?" And I think I did what my final show was in 2024 after 5
Mm.
cities of doing multi-week runs of it. It was just getting too hard to relive the pandemic. At first it was like, "Well, this is cathartic, isn't it?" But I think by the time I got to the 5th city 4 years later, I felt like I was, like, constantly on the same roller coaster. But it is, super cathartic for the audience too, but, it's the thing with live work, it can't go on forever, and that's why
Mhm.
people who have really cushy Broadway, gigs and stuff eventually need to roll off the show because
Exactly.
they go bonkers.
Now,
Yeah.
your work, even since One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I feel like there's always been kind of an element of activism to it and community networking, community
Yeah.
building. But this time with Sweatshop Overlord, I feel like this really was a kind of more tangible way that you're taking your efforts into the community and showing people how they could affect change. Like, how did you navigate turning that real time community effort into a theatrical piece?
Yeah, it was to brief everybody, March 2020, everything all my shows were canceled. I suddenly was like, "Why did I choose this unessential line of work as my calling?" Because right now, me being, trying to do my work is, like, the least important thing. We might all drop dead, and many did. 1,000,000 Americans passed away, during the pandemic. I saw that hospitals needed home sewn masks. I was like, "I know how to sew. I've never sewn medical equipment." I mean, the things I sew are fabric replicas of genitals, set pieces with no medical
Yeah.
purpose. But I was like, I didn't become a nurse, but I can save a nurse. And very naively offered to the internet, let me sew you a mask if you're immunocompromised or don't have access to masks, not realizing that's basically everybody. So, all the people who've been avoiding coming to my shows for years suddenly, oh, I guess you do see my messages and are like in my inbox asking for masks. I'm doing everything I can. And I'm also discovering other people in that position. And I start a Facebook group called the Auntie Sewing Squad. I named the group in such a rush. I didn't realize our acronym is ASS. And I'm thinking, okay, for a couple weeks, maybe I will help see who has extra masks that could help pass. But it just kept building. Like there are more requests, and then all the people I recruit need material. So suddenly I'm running this group, and this thing that was supposed to help me get out of this stupid overpromise to the internet is becoming this 25-hour a day endeavor. And long story short, we ended up growing to 800 aunties all over the country, 350,000 masks, 6 vans of supplies that went to the Navajo Nation. That's how I remember the pandemic. But anyway, like just like all the things we were witnessing politically, I can track through what it was like to run that group. And we were all strangers. I mean, most of us were strangers to each other. It was
Yeah.
a lot. My mother was in the group and her friends, but we never had worked together in that kind of capacity. And anyway, so New York Theater Workshop had a virtual season. I was doing this show on it, and they had a Zoom with me where they asked me to open their season off Broadway with this Zoom show, which would be live on stage. And my jaw just hit the floor. I was like, what? I'd never done an off Broadway contract, an equity
Oh,
contract like that
really?
before.
Oh, it's
No,
surprising.
no, I know. I've all my solo. I had done like 7 shows at that point, and they'd all been. It's just a way I knew how to work. I tour mostly colleges and performing arts spaces, and am given presenting contracts, not equity
Mhm.
contracts, and make my own, like, make my own stuff, have my own files on me. So this was very different to have Che Yu as a director, have like
Mhm.
all these union designers. I remember saying to them like, "Oh, if you need help, I can help make the set." I didn't realize you're not allowed to touch things when you're a
Hmm.
union actor. You're not supposed to be also building your set. But that's how I work, right? Is like I'm like a
Yeah.
little one person machine, so yeah, I imagine we got vaccinations in around March 2021, and the show rolled out in October 2021. And this is when we're checking vaccination cards and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of Broadway shows they weren't even releasing their numbers because they
Mm.
just weren't selling very well. And my show was doing they made it for a smaller audience,
Mhm.
so I had good sized crowds. But even with a critic's pick, it was like it wasn't coming back the way it used to. People were still a little freaked out about coming back to theater.
Right.
But yeah, changed my entire life and practice. Show was a Pulitzer finalist, a Drama Desk Award winner, Lucille Ortel winner. I just was like, does this happen to everyone who goes to New York? I was just so confused. Because LA, there's a lot of theater, but there's just not that same kind of infrastructure New York has in terms
Mhm.
of press on it and awards and visibility. It was just like, I never went into sewing masks. I was like, you know what? I think my theater career will really benefit from it. No, I honestly was just doing shows on Zoom to entertain the aunties while they sewed. The show had no ending. It was a lot of screaming at the computer. Like, I have no idea why New York Theater Workshop saw what they saw, that they were like, yeah, this will be great. But yeah, that's just sort of how that was what I did in the pandemic and how I came out of it. Now,
Yeah.
when young artists ask, like, what's your advice to and I'm like, work at it for 20 years, uh, and then when a global pandemic hits, run a mask sewing group, and then just cross your fingers. I mean, just
So
it's so chancy that all this shit happened. And I mean, I know I worked for it, but yeah, that it's just, yeah, it just trips me out that
yeah, you've been working for
I
a long time at it,
can't
and I think you've been on people's radars for a long time too.
Yes, yes, I have.
So your new book, your newest collaboration, Auntie Christina's Guide to Asian American Activism. Where did this come from? Was this kind of an offshoot of the work that you did in Sweatshop Overlord?
It was actually came from a project before that. I had a web series that premiered 2 seasons of a web series called Radical Cram School, Where basically it came out of a conversation with one of my now co-writers, Teddy Chow, and he was saying my daughter Liberty, who I've known since she was a baby, came home and said she said, "I don't wanna be Chinese anymore." And I was like, "Man,
Mm,
I used to say that when I was a
mm,
kid." And I mean, the self-hatred is very real, and that and that not understanding how to be Asian the right way in America is very real. And he was like, what if you just sat and talked to my daughter and her friends, like a town hall?" And I was like, I don't know why, but I blurted out, "Let's do a web series." I think I'd just been watching like things with Jimmy Kimmel and kids,
mhm.
and I had a pictured like this thing that would be more funny to adults than kids, but we ended up making a web series that we hope straddles both audiences, like kids watching with their parents, but it's me like basically teaching young Asian kids how to be activists and progressive and love who they are. And from after 2 this first season got heavily trolled by right wingers and, what's his name? Alex Jones of InfoWars.
Really? Oh, that guy. He's always popping
Yes,
up where you don't want him.
that guy.
Ugh.
He said it was the most racist thing he's ever seen because he doesn't watch his own show, I guess. And, but from that kind of scary press, we were able to fundraise for our second season, and we
Oh,
had bigger
great.
budgets and then from there, a literary agent during the pandemic, I think a couple years had passed or something, had asked, if we would be interested in doing a kids book. So, it's now called Auntie Christina's Guide to Asian American Activism. I guess the words radical and school are not cool to put on a
Hmm,
kids book. That was what
okay.
we that's what we heard, and because we're not actively making episodes of Radical Cram School, they said, just give it a new name. So, anyway, so it came from that. It's a challenge because 'cause we're trying to sum up a lot of Asian American history. It's not comprehensive, but there's a lot in there. Asian American history, what Asian American identity, which is a tricky identity. It's a political identity, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, all Asian ethnicities are not the same, but this umbrella of Asian
Yeah.
American,
There's not
uh
there's not even a common language like where you
yes,
have some with like some
exactly.
Latinx people. At
Yeah.
least they have Spanish, but there's like a zillion languages in Asia.
It's a lot, right? Because
Mhm.
it's a label that was devised to give more political power to a group of people who represent a diaspora, which has its own, like, many layers of history and
Mhm.
all this stuff. Anyway, so, imagine trying to translate that for children, for middle grade readers. Though when I look at the book now, I'm like, I think college kids could read this because like some people don't ever get Asian American studies ever in their
Exactly.
lives. And so within the book, there are bios of auntie heroes. Love this term auntie,
Mm.
right? And these are significant Asian Americans in history. Not all of them. If it was all of them, there'd be many volumes of books, and there are a lot that we couldn't include. There are smarts and crafts activities like STEM
Oh, cool.
exercises for kids. So yeah, I like to think about math, but also measuring history. A lot of self-reflection exercises. I think so much of trying to understand what an Asian American activist identity is, whether you're Asian American or not, is also learning to love the different layers of your own identity and understand your own family tree and what family is and where you have find your own power and beauty. So there's a lot in this hardcover book, 220 some pages, and it's out
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
And
shout out to the illustrator too. The illustrations are really vibrant, and I love the colors and just the skin tones.
yes,
Everything's really well done.
the way I guess publishing works is they give us a list of illustrators,
Mm,
that we can work with. So we really were drawn to the illustrations of an artist named Shazal Malik, who actually lives in Pakistan, but has lived in
mm.
America at points and in Europe. And she did a really wonderful job with the illustrations. But yeah, even when we opened it, we were shocked because we've been looking at a PDF and proofs the whole time, and it's so much different when it's printed out in a
Yeah.
hardback in your hands. It's really gorgeous, and we're super proud of it. Um, but goddamn, that was a lot of work. It was so much work. And
I
we split it
bet,
among
I bet.
4 of us, but 4 it also means, like, getting a lot of consensus and just staying motivated with all the other things that we are doing in our lives. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, just I feel like now it's like, is there anything she can't do? What
Ugh,
what's
sleep,
going on?
maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe I would love
Mm,
to
that
have as
might
much.
be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be maybe there's a Caldecott medal in your future now too,
Ooh,
to go
yeah.
next to
I
the
gotta figure
Pulitzer
that
Prize
world,
finalist.
that
Yes.
that world
So,
of, like, book awards. Yeah,
yeah, maybe we'll see you at the National Book Awards.
that
Who
would be
knows?
fun.
Anything's possible. So we're gonna wrap up soon, but I just wanted to ask you, like, what's making you laugh lately in your world, especially when times are so depressing?
What is making me laugh? Well, I was just in New York for 3 weeks where I did a very short run, a food bank influencer, and, a reading of my play Fetus Deletus, which is
Mm.
about a fraternity evangelical Texan frat boy who finds himself pregnant. So it's a retelling
Oh,
of
well,
the
yes.
nativity story,
Mm.
and I sat through a 29-hour process, and I laughed a lot watching these bodies that weren't mine go through some of the most traumatizing things a woman can go through, or a pregnant person can go through, because basically this character is in Texas trying to find an abortion with no legal option for it. So it mirrors the story of Mary and Joseph, like, looking for a place to birth this baby. And I won't give away more than that, but, like, I was just cracking up, like, watching this cast. I also saw, Cats: The Jellicle Ball. That
Oh,
made me
so
so
good.
emotional. Oh
It
my god, when
yeah.
Andre de Shields does that entrance as what's the Deuteronomy, the old cat?
Deuteronomy, yeah, mhm.
Oh my god, I think I cried. I was like, I've never.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, "It's not even intermission, I've cried twice." Like, it's very emotional for
It's
a lot of people.
so I was not part of the ballroom scene, in the '80s, and I was like, I love this music. I love that they figure out how to make Cats make sense
Thank
and
you.
be about celebration and Black
Exactly.
joy and
It's
Black
what
queer
cats
joy.
should have always been.
I was like, "How did they not do this at the first time? This makes so much
Exactly.
sense." But the fact they had all these
Oh.
elders on stage,
Oh, it's
this was
beautiful,
like,
so
it's
intergenerational, just also full of
crying.
joy too.
That made me so
But,
happy. I'd
yeah.
watch that again. I'd totally watch that again. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think
making
that's
me
on my
laugh.
schedule
I think
for
that's
this
about it,
week.
honestly. Oh, you haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it or
I
no?
saw it at, PAC NYC, but now
Oh,
I'm gonna see
great.
it on
So you're gonna see
Broadway
it.
this
Oh,
week.
it's
So, yeah, I'm
beautiful.
really excited. So I just wanted to wrap up with a few, like, rando questions from the Maria
Sure.
Bamford questionnaire, just
Okay.
to see what you think. What
Okay.
what's the best thing you've learned from someone you don't like?
Oof. The best thing I've learned from someone I don't like. I mean, quit stalking them online.
Is that our
Yeah.
friend Jeremy Lin?
No, I like Jeremy Lin. We were married via AI. No, I just for some reason I looked up my elementary school worst enemy the other day, I had not looked her up in 40 years, and she, of course, is a wedding dress designer, and she's so perfect and stuff, and I was like, "Urgh," and then I was like, "Why did I do that?" I'm right back in that place I was at
Yeah,
10 years old, like, mad,
it's
jealous, whatever. Like, why did
yeah,
I do that? That was so stupid. So that's the
it's so
lesson I
funny how
learned.
that stays with you forever. If you could take a brain ride in anyone's consciousness, whose would
Ooh,
it be?
I feel like we're already on Trump's brain ride, so I
Oh
don't need
god.
to do that. We're all in that right now. Uh, Maybe a Yoko Ono? I don't know. Like,
Oh
just someone
yeah.
that's just a Yayoi Kusama.
She's got a
Just
big
someone.
brain, yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, if you or what would your religion be if you could make up your own religion?
I've heard that pastafarian is a thing, so maybe I'd be a sushi-farian.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like a mercury-free fish,
Oh yes, please. Yeah,
uh,
we don't want the
and
mercury
vegan
levels
fish.
to get too high.
Yeah, like a vegan fish Yafarian. Maybe that'll be it.
Love that. Well, thanks so much for making the time to chat with me,
Oh, thank
Christina.
you.
And I'm going to make sure that everybody picks up a copy of Auntie Christina's Guide to Asian American Activism
Yes,
for
please do.
all the young people in your life.